Have you ever wondered if it makes any difference whether you dry brine or wet brine your steak? Follow me and let's find out. Now, let's turn up the tasty. Salt and meat. They've gone together since meat was invented. Was meat invented? It's been around a long time. It's a necessary part of cooking almost any kind of protein. Now, we've done a lot of experiments on this channel, and there's one thing that's definitely moved the needle for me in how I prepare steaks, and that is salting and dry brining my steaks before I cook them. One of our most popular videos that has over 5 million views was a dry brine experiment. 1 minute versus 1 hour versus 1 day. And the 1 day had the biggest impact, but there were noticeable differences that occurred after 1 hour of dry brining. What is dry brining? Well, you simply apply the salt to the meat, you put it on a raised rack like this, so that way the air can circulate around it, you put it in your fridge. Now, in this case, I didn't plan ahead for 24 hours, but I did plan ahead for 5 hours. So this has been dry brining for 5 hours, but I asked the question, does it make any difference versus wet brining? I know that they say we should wet brine chicken and pork chops and other things. We just didn't experiment on the pork chops, by the way. Have to find that on our channel. But here we have a steak that's been wet brined for the same amount of time. They both went in the fridge at the exact same time. So I'm really wondering, does it make any difference? That's what we are going to find out. So why would we dry brine in the first place? Well, what happens is when you apply that salt at first, it draws the water out of the steak, but after about an hour, that water starts to go back in, now salt water, and it creates a nice even bite as you eat your way through the steak. The other thing that it does by having it in the fridge is it sort of like dries out the exterior, and that promotes a nice crust as it cooks. The reason that they say to wet brine is to create more tenderness and more moisture, especially in those lean meats like pork or chicken. But now let's get to cooking and seeing if it really makes any difference. I'm gonna go fire up the grill. We're gonna cook these, and then my favorite part, test the results. I'll be right back. All right, so these steaks are about to go on the grill, but just wanted to point out to you the color difference in those. Take a look at it. This is the wet brined one, and you can see it has a much lighter color. This dry brine is a darker red. And I've noticed that too. So it was a little drier naturally. Now, the one thing I have done is I have patted both of these dry. So they are very dry. That's going to promote that nice crust once we drop it on. The other thing, you'll notice I have my Primo ceramic grill right here. It has a nice oval design that's very unique in the world of ceramic grills. And we have it set up for a 2-zone fire. We're going to sear it over the blazing hot side, and then we're gonna move it to the indirect heat. Why? These are thick steaks. We're gonna burn them if we just cook over the direct heat the entire time. I talk about cooking thin versus thick steaks in other videos. Just wanted to mention it, but now let's drop them on. Get good contact. That is a hot fire. All right, so we're gonna get these cooked up, and then my favorite part, test the results. I forgot to mention it earlier, but these are grilling. I did go ahead and score the fat cap on the wet brine steaks. That way I'd be able to tell the difference, keep track of them as I pull them off the grill. Now we're about ready to rotate these. All right, guys, these steaks took about 20 minutes from beginning to end to cook. As you can see, we've already cut them open. I pulled them at an internal temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Not trying to hide anything from you guys, but we cut them open to get a final picture that we can use to promote our videos. But now it's time for the review. When I look at these steaks, there's really not a whole lot that's different about them. On the interior, as you can see, same internal temperature, or on the exterior. If I had to say anything about the exterior, it would be that the dry brine steak has a little better crust. Is that because of the process? I really don't know. I mean, there's certainly variables when you grill. One side or one part could be a little hotter, could get a little bit more flame. Maybe it is because of the process, but it does have a slightly better crust. Now that is an observation that I have made in our other dry brine experiment, is that the one that was dry brined for 24 hours had a way better crust than the one that wasn't dry brined at all. So that's some knowledge I can draw on, but really not a whole lot different on the exterior. But now let's go ahead and take a bite and see what the taste test reveals. Should mention again, this is the wet brine over here, and this is our dry brine. They both look phenomenal. They both smell absolutely amazing. I know you can't get that at home. Let's dig in. It's a terrific steak. It's a really good steak. That's one of the things I love about that dry brine is that end-to-end saltiness when you bite through it. Unlike salting your steak after or immediately before where it can't absorb, when you dry brine it, you definitely get that end-to-end evenness on the salt. It kicks up the flavor a lot. I really like it. It's really good. It has a good chew on the exterior. I mean, when I pick up a slice of this, here you go, you can see we got that well done around the exterior, interior is pink. And I will say, it looks about the same over here. Maybe we're getting a little less gray around the exterior, but it's so minuscule. I don't even know if it's gonna have any difference, but that's really what this taste test is about. How do they taste different? Not how do they look? I mean, that's a little part of it, but what is the impact on the taste? I have to cleanse my palate, a little Oktoberfest. Now, here we go. It's a very good steak. It's a very tender steak. Although I won't say it's any more tender than the dry brine. Matter of fact, the only thing I'm picking up right away is that our dry brine has more edge-to-edge saltiness in it. It's a more uniform bite. Now, I am picking up the salt over here, but it's not as edge-to-edge. I'm picking up more of just the pure meat flavor, where this is pure meat with salt. Let me try this again. Let me reverse the process this time. I'll start with the wet brine. It's a good steak. I wouldn't guess that one really had any brine to it. I mean, maybe I've done the wrong experiment here. Maybe I should have tested a wet brine steak versus a steak that had no brine at all. But for me, why would I do that when I already know the dry brine has a good flavor? So that seemed like the appropriate test. Wet brine versus dry brine. It is a tender steak. Is it more tender than this? No, it's no more tender than the steak that was dry brine. And for me, this is, you know, sometimes it can be difficult to describe what I'm experiencing into words and translate that to you guys watching this at home. But for me, this one's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. The dry brine is the clear-cut winner. It has more edge-to-edge saltiness. It has better flavor overall than its counterpart that was wet brine. I don't think I'll be doing that again. It's not a bad steak. It's a great steak. Probably no one would know that it was wet brine. No one would have any clue. I wouldn't know. I eat a lot of steak. But when I have it side by side with the dry brine, it's clear to me the dry brine was the winner. What do you guys think? Have you tried this at home? Let us know in the comments below. Also, what do you think about the steak? Is it too rare for you guys? Is it too well done or just perfect? Thanks for checking out the vid and stay tuned for more steak experiments. I'm gonna get back to these steaks. I'll see you guys soon.